Welcome to another episode of Indian Tech Icon Spotlight, Bay Area, Silicon Valley. Today we have a young and dynamic leader, Sujay Nair, with us, who leads enterprise application, and he comes with a wealth of 25 years of experience in systems and technology. He's a keen process follower, as I know him from my past life. It will be interesting to know his perspective around several things going on in the world today. Welcome to the show, Sujay. It's a pleasure to have you here on the show.
Thank you, Sachin. As always, it's great to meet you. We have known each other for the last 15 years, so it's always good to have that unofficial chat going. And thanks for having me at your home. It's such a beautiful place to be here.
Pleasure is all mine, Sujay. I'm sure that we are going to have a lot of fun talking about past, knowing about insights in the technical world, your life. Some of it I know, but we'll discover a little more.
I look forward to the discussion.
So let's start with what you're doing right now. So you're leading the enterprise systems and leading the whole landscape of enterprise systems, managing this. So tell me what has changed in last few years when you look at the enterprise systems?
Yeah. I've been with this organization that I'm working for the last 3 years, but my journey with IT and enterprise architecture has been spun across for the last 25 years. It seems like a large shift. It's been a different era when we used to work with technologies like Java, with Oracle database, thinking about the concept of deploying things on-prem. It seems like it's been a dinosaur age to go with. Things have been much more rapidified with cloud. As we all gone through that journey with technologies like AWS coming into existence, Salesforce coming into existence, right? I think the no software, SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS has taken the technology stack into a whole new dimension. What excites me is the democratization of technology and the platform, because a small company as well as a large company now has access to the same platforms and services that can be provided. So that's very powerful, and so. That excites me, and it's a growing trend that we are seeing as we speak.
Yeah, I think definitely the technology has evolved over a period of time from what we have seen historically to this point. There has been a time frame when everybody was talking about cloud, and then now we are talking about AI, and we are getting into the AI era. So tell me about how it was, that journey was from going from on-prem to cloud, now AI. And I think we are talking about AI. Nobody is so sure what exactly. We have figured out a few things. So it will be good to know your perspective, right? Starting on-prem, then we go to cloud, and then now we are talking about AI.
Yeah, the transition has been gentle, but at the same time, it has revolutionized a lot of things, right? I think when we were on-prem, the main concern of considering a cloud technology was security. Everyone was resistant in terms of thinking about, should I take my data center to the cloud and give it in hands of someone who I am not familiar with or I know? That's no more there now, right? I think security is part of a cloud infrastructure that has been provided. It comes with elasticity, it comes with rapid deployment, scalability element of it, which at no point can be matched if you were to remain on-prem, right? So that's pretty exciting. That's the possibility of you running a scaled application like nothing like in the past. With AI, and which is a beneficiary of what has happened with the cloud technology, I see it getting ramplified even further beyond what we can think about. AI sits on top of cloud, obviously, and there are other aspects that goes into building that entire infrastructure. But the element of we seeing that structured growth just in the last 15 to 20 years is pretty encouraging, Sachin, in my point of view.
No, sure. I think, we have seen it evolving over a period of time for sure. AI, as we see, kind of adding a lot of value. I think there are areas that we are still trying to figure out, but it has starting to add values where everyone is trying to figure out where I can use it to optimize, right?
I agree. I think that's the point that you make is very important, right? Which is to say, everyone is looking at it in terms of how it can add value, right? I think if that's a general consensus in terms of making sure a technology can add value and we try to derive the value out of it, it's a two-way win-win situation to be in, right? So Yeah, you're right in terms of saying that business is looking at it a bit different from what IT is looking into it. But all of us are marching towards a state where we are looking at AI more seriously to add more value to the business team process of what we do there.
Of course. And then what are your thoughts around when people say that AI might take away jobs? I mean, as I see that it does add value, like what are the risk elements that you see and what's your take on it?
Well, that's always been a debate that goes around. But my personal opinion is, right, I think AI is in an influx situation, right? It's in a forking situation where you know it can do a lot of powerful stuff, which otherwise would have taken a long time to do, as compared to, and the innovation side of it, which also seems to be more creative in that sense. Now, the question is human aspect built into it, or is human staying out of it, right? The current progression of AI has reached to a point where it can help you automate most of what a human can do. And I think that's encouraging to see that something like this coming in and taking away and freeing up human beings for doing much more creative stuff. End of the day, we all do things which is going to be consumed by the human element of it. So I think that's still going to be remaining there. It's not going to be taken away. I work for an organization that works for a client, that works for a member, that services them. So the starting point and the end point are humans.
Right.
The systems in between, the automations in between are what we are trying to automate with AI. So in my mind, I think I'd still feel very optimistic about the fact that AI is going to speed up the process of getting the best value delivered to the business or the client or the members in this case. But losing jobs, it may just revolutionize the way we do things. It's not going to take away a lot of jobs. But yeah, repetitive jobs, some segments might get impacted, which would be for the betterment of human beings. I would
I see that. So is it like, maybe if I have to rephrase what you're saying in my terms, what I am understanding, or in my words rather, that companies are yet to figure out or compartmentalize that how they can use AI while keeping maybe jobs intact or reskilling those people to do something else. So now they are getting values on two sides, like one from AI and then one from these people, because people are always an asset maybe, and this is just a transition phase.
I would consider that way, Sajjan. I mean, so it's a transition phase because not every company has seen how AI can add value to their own business cases and business values that they are standing behind. But at the same time, there are certain aspects of things that AI as a technology stack also needs to bring in. The best of use cases that I've seen in organization where AI has helped us reducing dependency and reducing repeated jobs, right? It's still not reached to an inflexing point where decisions have been taken by AI. The agentic side of work that we anticipate it will eventually do, we are not there yet, right? I think it does a good job of workflow automation, but making decisions, bringing in an element of data, human elements being added to it, and all those things, that's still in a stage where it's getting prototype, it's getting POC'd, but not generally available for an organization to adopt. So a bit of a long way to go, but it's out there. So we'll be all seeing that in our lifetime for sure, very soon.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yes, and we are seeing it anyway. Even at this early age of AI, we are seeing a lot of applications using it. I do have one more question, and this might be a little, I don't know if there is a straight answer to this, but still I want to ask this. So I've been using ChatGPT for some time, and it seems good to me. I mean, so when I look at AI, I have like one more perspective. Like, for example, somebody watching a YouTube video or YouTube Shorts or watching Instagram, right? You're scrolling and you're seeing something, and you relate it and you say, okay, maybe this seems to be right. And then we don't think about, okay, what else is the option? Like if somebody is showing me something, or our mind is so wired now to just take that input and think it is right. Now when I go back to ChatGPT, I ask some question, something comes, I say, this might be true. So if I'm able to explain it correctly, now I'm taking just on its face. I've stopped thinking that there might be something else to it. And like, what are your thoughts around it?
That's a very good point, Sajjan, because I think the dependency on AI has made us trust the system so much that we take it for granted that the data that it's based out of or the information that it is gathering and doing its research, how truthful that information is, right? We probably bypass this step and jump over to it. In my mind, I think it's critical, like any social media stuff, that we start scanning through to look at the source, to understand from it, to see whether the data that it's pulling from or the news articles that it's pulling from, how reliable are those sources from. What I've tried doing in my own personal experience of using some of this AI chatbots is to specify certain prompts that allows me to narrow it down to a certain sources which is more reliable in nature. For example, right? I mean, if I'm chatting with chatbot and requesting for the latest news in relation to a conflict that's going around, I look at it from an angle to say, look at it from a reliable source like so-and-so, and not from a post that was done by an opinionated reporter. It's somewhere else in a blog, right? Mm-hmm, so I guide the AI to give us more information, which is more from a reliable source. And so far, I've seen that it does a decent job of actually getting me to that information with more references. And it's then again, as a knowledgeable the requester, that I should be more aware of the fact that there might be some biases involved there.
Yeah, so our own due diligence is important.
It's still required for sure.
So coming back to that one point now, I think it's a good segue into this discussion where you talked about, okay, as a requester, I should be telling that what information I'm looking for. That takes me into this prompt word that you used, and prompt engineering. So a lot of people talk about prompt engineering now these days. And now if I'm looking at AI and the work that you do, which is enterprise application, how do you see these two things coming together in future? Like how that is going to help the larger community here? Because today it's mostly users are doing something to get from point A to point B to point C. Like how do you see this evolving with this prompt engineering where now users are giving prompts, and like your take on this?
I see the prompt engineering evolving as a integral part of any LLM in the future state. What I mean by that is this, right? Which is to say, I've been an avid user of ChatGPT as well. I have their paid subscription so-called plan, and then I keep chatting with it on a personal, on a professional basis. Yeah, so it has got a good sense of who I am as an individual, and over a period of time, that is what I've built with that model, right? So it understands my
your personality.
Exactly. Next time when I prompt it, I don't really need to give it a lot of that information to say, here is why I'm asking for this information. Now, does everyone needs to spend 2 years to actually get to this point of training a model about yourself? That would be the next leap that you would probably see as to how do you get a model to understand you in the quickest possible way without having to write it too much of a prompt. So that would be where the evolution of prompt engineering and trying to see how it can be rapidified even further would come in. And I'm excited about that because I think that's one deficiency I've seen in the prompt engineering today, because everyone who interacts with it, like when you ask the question and when I ask the same questions, the response, depending upon what the context has been said, is obviously going to be different.
Absolutely, because that's my experience as well sometimes, that I'm asking something and sometimes I have to revise my prompt so much that at one point I think I could have probably done it sooner.
You could have done it better.
And sooner, rather than trying to figure out what prompt to get. But overall, I think it definitely helps. So maybe there are a couple of instances where that happened, but that's true. That what you're saying is that it takes a while for the tool to even understand what do you want really. So that's pretty interesting era that we are in, and I'm sure that the future generation will be able to make use of it. I mean, we are the transitionary phase, if you will. By the time the next generation comes in, hopefully things are pretty settled.
And I would probably say with the pace at which we are moving, the next generation is probably 3 years from now or 2 years from now. It shouldn't be waiting for another 20 years to happen, right? So it's going to be much more sooner than that. But it's in an interesting phase as we speak.
Yeah. And now as we talk about the future generation, let's go back in our time when you were in college. Tell me about your college life, like what it was like, the city we were in, and then those defining moments in your life, when you decided that, okay, I want to pursue career in tech, or was that your first choice? How all that happened?
Thanks for asking some personal questions to Sachin. I think it's, I was born and brought up in Bombay. My entire initial phases of getting to explore myself as an individual all happened in Bombay, and my roots are from Kerala, right? So in some shape and form, I was already a migrant within India, where we had changed cities, where we were in a totally new location. I was always in an uncomfortable, I would say, out of comfort zone kind of model, because I had to deal with a new language, a new setup, culture really different from what I see at home, right? So that, I think, when I look back, it has helped me shape who I am today, because adaptability and openness to change is something that I'm okay with at this point of time. College days were no different. I think I had a lot of friends, and Bombay being a multicultural environment, I got to be having a lot of multicultural friends too. So having that open-mindedness to deal with a lot of other individuals from different backgrounds really plays a key role there. In some shape and form, I was a hustler during my time. Though I used to be good at academics, one element I always used to challenge myself is, how do I make sure I can continue pursuing my passion, right? And that at that point, it was around entrepreneurship and few of the things around businesses. I used to have, I still remember I used to have some stalls that I used to set up to sell some drinks and all those things. This was all not required by anyone to do it, but it was out of my curiosity as to how do I have the convincing power to actually sell something to the group. So it all helped in that regards to get me where I am.
Now, going back again to the college days, right? So now, tell me about that defining moment where you said, okay, like, you had this entrepreneurship in your mind, good in academics in some areas. But what was that defining moment where you said, okay, I want to jump into this area in technology, and how that all started, and then from there on your journey till so far? Maybe that will be interesting to know.
Sure. Sajjan, it was more of a transformation, I would call it that way. I remember just passing out of college as a fresh graduate. My first job that I took up was around software training. You won't believe it. I used to be a Java trainer to begin with. And that was interesting for me, because I got to explain complex topics much more simpler for individuals who don't understand the essence of it. And that really gave me an inroads into making simplified versions of the technology that exists out there. Well, I didn't want to remain too much on the theoretical side of it. I wanted to try things out and try to get things going with my own knowledge and aspects around it. And that's where I joined a company which actually helped me to be a consultant and join companies like Cisco. And that's where I would say the transformation really happened, because organization like Cisco, which is a mammoth organization, has so much of a process, and they have so much complex business processes that can evolve over a period of time and can be made so simplified. That's where we ventured into more of those areas, and I think that turned out to be a good investment for myself, because I built the confidence to say, how do I take a complex problem, solve it with technology, simplify it, which took me to the next gig that I landed in with a high-tech organization. Most of my growth happened in that high-tech organization, where I led a team of engineers, eventually moving into an organization where I lead a team at this point of time.
So I witnessed that you being a player coach kind of leader. Tell us something about that kind of leadership style, where I've seen you working hands-on, and then you also have a team of people you are navigating through. So how's that been? And
I think I would probably say that it's also a transformative journey of being a leader, right? I remember those days when I used to take things on my own hands and get things done, even though I had a team to deliver. It was an evolution for me to actually go through that cycle, to say if I do that constantly on an ongoing basis, I'm not doing justice to myself as my team. That's where I think stepping up and being a coach really helped. Looking at the team, looking at their strength, playing by their strength, and empowering them to do their job is what I'm good at, and I should be focusing more on that, and that has helped evolve there.
Yeah, but I think the player coach style was also working out, because then you were able to keep yourself up to speed on things. Maybe not doing as much, but still having that attitude. Kind of, I've seen you rolling up the sleeves whenever there is this fire drill. Okay, so did you notice that your team had that belief that my leader is there, and if anything goes wrong, he will jump in and support us, right?
I do feel that, but at the same time, I also realized very soon that a leader is not one who needs to have answers to all the questions, right? A leader is one who should be knowing to ask the right questions to get the answers from there, right? So that change in mindset really also helped me in molding, and to the point that you made, right? Am I the one who needs to roll up my sleeves and jump into the firefighting exercise all the time? Or is that an opportunity for someone who to step up and do their job, right? So that's a difference.
That's a great perspective, actually. Good way to look at some of these challenges, because it's very natural for people to jump into solving the problem if they have been doing it for a long time. But it takes some time for people to step back from it and see the bigger picture and larger picture and say, okay, maybe there are people who will do it, and I will just sit here and see that if there is a need. Sit here in the sense not stepping back, but I want my team to do it so that they are capable, or they become able to do it. If I'm not around, they can handle it on their own. I think it's a good perspective.
True. And as a leader, I think that's the key role that we play, right? Which is giving the bigger picture, making sure that the dots are joined. Eventually, if the team comes along, they get to see what you are seeing from your vantage standpoint. Because the leader is one who gets to see the visionary part of it, right? Which is much beyond the horizon. As long as the team gets to see that, I think the team just comes along. The delivery is just a mere formality to get going with. Yeah.
Another thing that I want to touch upon is the process side of things. You're thinking around process, because that's one area that I've always admired about you. That you always think from process standpoint. You want to make sure that the processes are followed to the T. No shortcuts. This needs to be done, and this needs to be done the right way. So tell us about that, where all that started, and then how do you carry along those things, and how that adds value? Because sometimes some people see processes as hindrances, causing delays, and maybe we could have done this or we could have done that. It doesn't have to take that long, but tell us about your journey, and I admire you for that one thing for sure.
Thank you for that kind words, Sachin. I think if I look back, it all started with Cisco. Like I mentioned earlier, right? I think it's an organization that runs at a scale of 80,000 employees, and it's a global organization. Got to be part of some of the segments of it in terms of seeing how such a global organization works. And one thing I learned is you can't run an organization without having a solid process to go with, especially with global teams, right? I mean, not everyone speaks the same language, not everyone understands and follow through the same way, and everyone has their way of working. But what ties them all together is a common thread, which could be a process that can be brought in. As a leader, if you were to set up that process upfront, set the expectation that here is why that process has been built out, show the value that the process can build into the organization, I think, it's for the team to then stick to it and then follow through. Both for the leader as well as for the team who follows through, it's much more expected in terms of what the outcome would be in that frame of execution, and then it just plays out. So I would probably, looking back, I feel the work that I did with Cisco really helped me in nurturing myself from a process standpoint and doing better on that.
And I'm sure that you're still following that.
I'm still a big process guy. I got myself certified with ITIL and some of the industry best standards around processes. So yeah, I'm very close to processes.
So we talked about your current work. We talked about the industry around us, how it's shaping up. Maybe we touched upon your past as well. What is Sujay Nair outside of work in the personal life? What do you do in your free time? What do you like to do, or what's your wish list looks like?
When I'm not working, I think I enjoy time with my family. I'm more of a introvert in that sense, to be very frank. But we have a good ritual going on. Fridays, we probably venture out for a walk. Saturdays and Sundays are more devoted for certain activities like hiking, biking. I like cycling a lot. So we used to do a 25-mile bike or across the Bay Area here. So there are things that really keeps me engaged and going. Mostly on the outside side of it. I like gardening. So spend a lot of time planting things when the weather is good. So
So are you eating the organic vegetables?
oh, I like gardening with where flowers are blue.
Flowers.
That vegetable, because vegetable is always a tricky situation to get it. Yeah.
So well, Sujay, it has been lovely to hear about your story, what you do, your thoughts around things. We have known each other, but still, talking again about those things after the world has changed a little bit. The COVID and then the AI boom and all. I think we haven't had chatted after that. So good to know your perspective, and I think it's going to help a lot of our audiences as well in terms of how leaders think, where their mind is at, and all that. So thank you again for a wonderful evening, and that was a great chatting with you again.
Thank you. The pleasure is mine, Sachin. It was great chatting with you. I've known you for long. So it's always feeling at home to be talking to you. So thank you for your time, and I loved it.